skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, performance enhancement expert, and author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 60 countries, such as the U.S., India, Canada, France, Australia, Belgium, Panama, Norway, Malaysia, Japan. So I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here is where we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing. We highlight that transformational moment that has changed our lives and how we use this to help transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live Tuesday through Friday, so join us during our live broadcast. You can also join our Facebook group, Life Transformation Radio Community. Search on Facebook, Life Transformation Radio Community. Never miss an episode by subscribing and rate and review the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn, Player FM, and the Google Play Music app. Search Life Transformation Radio wherever you are comfortable listening to podcasts. Subscribe right here on Blog Talk Radio. On the show are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, and other content creators that are amazing at what they do and have an impact in the world around them. And my guest today does exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show, this is a live show, so you can call in at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. And my team is standing by to field any of your calls to make sure that you are who you say you are. So please help me. Welcome to the show, Adam Smith. What's going on, my friend?
What is going on? I'm super stoked to be here, Sean.
Dude, I'm super pumped to have you on the show, man. You're doing some incredible, incredible things, man. And I can't wait to dive in and learn just a little bit more about what you're doing and the awesomeness that you have going on. So if you're ready, let's do this.
Awesome.
So this episode is entitled The Engagement Reframing Process with Adam Smith. Adam is a 25-year-old online business strategist, engaging storytelling entrepreneur, and host of the X2 Entrepreneur podcast. After partnering with strategic social partners, he's made it his mission to help other entrepreneurs and business owners create a revenue-generating blueprint and implement it effectively. He and his partners are responsible for tremendous growth with clients in the fitness, real estate, luxury yachts, and coaching consulting industries. He attributes to a system called the Engagement Reframing Process. This unique system helps entrepreneurs drive higher conversions and reconnect with their current and future clients. You can watch all of the case studies and apply to work with Adam at the link below at business.strategicsocialpartners.com/case study. You can go to strategicsocialpartners.com and check out everything that him and his partners are doing that is revolutionizing how we do business in the online space. You can also subscribe to his entrepreneur podcast right there at that link at the anchor.fm. Check it out. It's an amazing, amazing show. So, dude, that sounds amazing. Tremendous growth of clients in the fitness. Like, you already have your demographics. You already have your systems, your processes. Everything is set. So why do you do what you do? Why choose those demographics? Why be an online business strategist? What is your deep why for what you do?
That's a great question. And I didn't always know what that deep why for me was. In fact, I didn't even, start doing this until, just a few years ago. But I realized that I had something valuable to be able to offer to the marketplace. And I didn't always start with this, though. I didn't always start being an entrepreneur. In fact, I remember I was sitting in my chair at school when I was trying to learn, what I wanted to be. We always talk about what do we be when we grow up. And I remember sitting in my chair and the teacher talking about the process that every new graduate goes through right when they graduate. And they're talking about, getting these entry-level jobs, and they're saying, you're going to start at $40,000 a year, and then, you're going to move up, and then in a couple of years, you're going to get promoted, and everyone's climbing the corporate ladder to go all the way up, and eventually you'll become a VP, and you'll be making $80,000 to $120,000 a year. And I'm sitting here, and I'm thinking, that is not something to be excited about. Like, I do not, like, I'm going to be, like, in my 40s, and I'm sitting here at a job I probably hate, and that was not exciting to me at all. That was the last thing I wanted to do, was be an employee. And I was like, I had read tons of books, and the most influential book for me was a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Oh, my gosh. One of the most transforming books I've ever read. And Robert Kiyosaki was talking about, if you want to be successful, if you want to build wealth, you have to have multiple streams of income. And I started thinking, I was like, if I just have a job, that's not, like, I got to be doing something else. And Warren Buffett had said, you always have two sources of income. And so I was like, okay, what is going to be like that side hustle that I'm going to do? What is that thing that I want? And I realized that it wasn't going to just come from, being an employee. Like, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And so that transformation for me from going, this is not something I want to be doing. I want to help other entrepreneurs, other business owners, and I want to be able to do it in a way that is ethical, in a way that can really grow businesses and companies, because that is something for me that has always been a dream of mine, to be able to grow my own company and be able to help my clients do the same. So for me, that why is to help them not have to go through what I went through, and just being the type of people that, they can be able to help their clients grow and build their own company. So that's my huge why, is to make an impact.
Just for me, if I was going to make $40,000 a year, I would much rather be my own boss making $40,000 a year than working for somebody making $40,000 a year. Mm-hmm. The only reason I say that is because I've spent the last almost 2 decades in the military, and I know what it's like to just be controlled, right? I mean, I just, you got to wake up and go to this certain job at this certain time. You got to, do what they tell you to do. Like, and it's great. You're following orders, and, but sometimes you're like, I just don't want to do it that way. Sometimes I just, maybe I just want to, work from home today. Maybe I just, maybe I want to go out to the beach. Maybe I just don't feel like, whatever. You know what I mean? Or like if you're having a bad day, you can have a bad day like by yourself. You don't need to bring that crap to work, and then everybody sits around the water jug, or whatever that thing's called, talking about, how bad life sucks,
Right.
I don't know, man. I'd just rather have the freedom to be able to do and to grow and scale as I want to grow and scale. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And that's exactly where I was. It's like, I've always disliked and arguably hated working for other people. And I tolerated other sales jobs because I could, be a 1099 worker and be able to go and do my own thing and make as much as I wanted to. And so I tolerated that point. But just the idea of, working for somebody else, that's not exciting for me as an entrepreneur.
Right. Right. And I've heard so many times. I mean, God, if I had to count, man, it's probably in the hundreds that book changed my life. Robert Kiyosaki's book changed my life. It changed my life. Oh my God, it changed. Like, everybody says that, So talk about that. What was the life transforming moment? What was that moment? Was it reading the book, or was it the application of the book? What was the life changing moment that put you on the path to what you're doing now?
That moment for me came, I still remember exactly where I was. I remember I was at a point where I realized that something needed to change. I was so far in debt that I had tried a ton of other business ideas and ventures, and trying to implement what Rich Dad was talking about, and being able to have cash generating assets. But here's the thing, Sean. This is why that book is so transformational. This is why that book has been the number one personal finance book in the last 40, 50 years. Because he is able to tell a story in a way that gets people to think that they're, being taught, right? So he tells this entire story about what his rich dad was telling him, and you are learning along with him. Have you ever heard of Leadership and Self-Deception before? It's by the Arbinger Institute. Is that book sound familiar?
It sounds familiar, but I haven't read it.
Okay. This process, for a lot of people who are authors out there, they take this idea about, moving people through this story. And you're especially with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you're going through with him on this journey that he's taking. And I started thinking, I was like, oh my gosh. And then a light bulb went off for me. And I was like, what if we can do that for our clients? What if we can tell a story so powerful that it evokes an emotional reaction, an emotional response in people that gets them to take action? Because there are like you said, hundreds of times that book has changed your life because there were certain nuggets and certain things that happened in your life that now makes it more applicable for you. And so that was the moment when I started thinking about, why is this book so powerful? And that I have to say was the biggest transformational moment for me.
So how did you implement the things that were in that book? What did you do?
Yeah. So I was still going to school at the time, and I had this day job. I had active income, but as I was learning, I learned that I needed to have two sources of income. So I started thinking, I was like, what else could I do? And I found a site called Turo. And Turo is a place where you can rent your car out. And
really?
Yeah. And if your car is just sitting there, you can put it on the site, and people can take it out, and you just make money every day. It goes out. People are renting your car. And so I had a car.
How do they not steal it?
So, they have this insurance plan. They kind of take a cut from that. You're covered. If anything happens, you actually have a new car while, you're trying to find another one. They'll cover the cost of the car. Anyway, there are a lot of different things. I had this fear, and I was like, what if someone just runs off with my car, right? And but I was, I could walk to school, and so I could have people rent my car while I was out. And so, it was like $40 a day. It's kind of an older BMW, but it, still rented for $40-$50 a day. And so I would go to school, and I would just have people rent my car out. And I was like, dude, this is passive income. It's not a lot, but it's passive income. And I started kind of getting this idea. I was like, what are the things in my life that I can, what sort of value can I provide, right? I'm providing a car and, to people. And I can do that while I'm still going to school. Long story short, ended up having this guy who took, he comes back, had a really, really hard time getting a hold of this guy. And, it was 6 o'clock, and he was supposed to have my car back, and it wasn't back. And so I called the guy up. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm 30 minutes away. And, it was just this horrible, horrible process where I thought this guy had stolen my car. So he comes back. The car is just smoky. And I'm like, dude, why are you smoking in my car? He's like, well, you didn't say I couldn't. And I'm like, dude, like, you're smoking in my car. Like, are you serious? And I looked, and there were about 300 more miles on this car than what he was supposed to be driving. And he had it for like 4 days. I'm like, dude, where did you take my car? He's like, we just went, an hour and a half away. I'm like,
right.
You put 600 miles on this car in 3 days. Like, where did you go, right? Are we going to Vegas? Like, anyway, terrible experience with that. Didn't end up doing it anymore, and kind of like put that on hold. I was like, okay, well, that just cut off my source of passive income. What else can I do? And so I started a cookie business. Now, have you seen? It might sound kind of weird, but have you seen those? You've seen those companies that deliver to your door cookies and like milk? You ever heard of those? I don't know if they have those on the East Coast.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay. There was a place that was doing it, and I was like, I could totally do that in my town. And I was going to school in Idaho, and I was like, I could totally pull this off. And so we hired photographers, we got a website up, we got delivery drivers, we had like everything ready to go. We split tested like 12 of the best cookie recipes and found the best one. And like, it was insane. Like, we were serious. I was like, I probably put 50, 60 hours into this project. And over the course of a couple weeks,
just $50 to $60?
Or no, hours. Yeah.
Oh, hours. Oh, okay. I was like,
$50 to $60. No, 50 to 60 hours. In just the course of a couple weeks, and still going to school and still had another job, and so I was like, we're going to make this thing happen because I know I want to start a business. That's what I learned from Rich Dad, is starting a business. And, so I end up, we're about 2 weeks away from launching, and I'm working on the website and just pulling an all-nighter, and it crashes. Like, everything, just like totally gone. Like, the website, like everything was totally set, and my computer crashed, and I lost everything. And I remember sitting there just devastated because I put all this work, and we had people ready to go. And I remember just thinking, like, what am I going to do? Like, I had put so much work into this. And so eventually I kind of had a little come to Jesus moment. I was like, I need to go out and I probably need to go sell something, and if I'm going to make some money. So I called a buddy, and we went out and sold pest control. We did that door to door. If you've ever done door to door marketing, it is like just like, it's awful. It's so awful. People have no idea who you are. You're knocking on the door, trying to sell them something 15 minutes later. And it just sucks. And we're in Houston, Texas, and it's hot, and it's just muggy. And I'm like, man, in that moment, I was like, I knew that I was good at it. I'd made about 20 grand in about 2 months doing that, but it sucked. And it's like, it made me realize, like, I'm making good money, but if you're not loving what you do, what's the point?
Right.
And I wasn't loving what I was doing. Like, you can be making 200 grand, 300 grand, but if you hate your job and you just hate your life, like, why are you doing that? And
we hear that a lot, though. In the entrepreneur space, we hear that. Like, some of the most miserable people I've met are people worth, $3, $4, and $5 million, $10 million. They just, they hate life. Like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, money can't buy happiness, apparently.
Right. And
some of these people are just miserable.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was, is I'm knocking on these doors, and I'm just like, it's 2:00 in the afternoon, and I'm just like, man, this sucks. But I realized that going through that grind was going to be enough to be able to push me to start eventually what I'm doing now and doing what I love. And sometimes we have to be in a place where we have to suffer a little bit to get a little bit ahead so that we can actually get to where we actually want to go. And so that's exactly what I figured out. And I figured that I love the marketing in the online business space. And, I wasn't going to be selling cookies. I wasn't going to be selling pest control. I was like, I need something else I need to sell. And a lot of people, had said, Adam, like you love like relationships and like, kind of the psychology behind relationships. Why don't you do something around that? I was like, I'm a single guy. Like, I don't have any experience in this at all. Like, what do I have to offer? And so instead of saying, like, I can't do this, it was, how can I do this, right? It's the Robert Kiyosaki, how can I afford this?
How can I do it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time, man. Somebody will be like, oh, man, I really want to be a speaker, and I really want to do this. I'm like, let's do it. They're like, okay, well, what do you charge? I'm like, I charge, this much money a month, and they're like, oh, that's kind of out of my price range, man. I can't afford it. I'm like, you can't afford it? I guess a better question you would ask is, how can I afford it?
Mm-hmm.
If you're always saying, I can't do this, or no, I'm not going to, whatever, you're going to be stuck. You need to ask yourself, how can I do this? How can I afford it? And they're like, oh, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how you can afford it. And so I'm not astronomically super freaking high, in my pricing, but, you could literally sell something for a few $100s and there I am for a month. You know what I mean? So, yeah, how can I do this? How can I afford this? Boom.
And you know what it does, Sean, is it changes your mindset. Because if you stay in that mode of, man, like, I can't do this, and you're constantly telling yourself that you can't do this, that's going to spill over into every other part of your life, not just business. And so changing that into, like, how can I do this? What is the process? It starts opening your mind to so many different possibilities of how you can make this happen. And so that's what I did. I was like, I need to do this, but how can I do this? So what I did is I found somebody who was able to help me do this. He was able to do the fulfillment on this part of the business. And he was a clinical psychologist. The guy has like 4 PhDs, just been going to school forever. And he was so good in his craft, but not very exceptional in the marketing aspect. I didn't know how to do the craft, but I could do the marketing. And so we were a pair. And so we worked together, and we decided to, kind of pool some resources, and we started selling on a webinar. And I remember the first webinar that I ever did is I put this webinar together with the slides and the script and everything together, and I launched it. And the very first one that I had 4 people attend the webinar, and 2 of them were my parents. And I remember just sitting there, just like, this is disgraceful. I've got my parents, God, which I love dearly. It's not a bad thing that they were on here, but they were half my audience, and they were already married. They didn't need what I had to offer. And I just remember sitting, just like, I worked so hard to be able to do this, and like nobody showed up. We had 2 people on. And I went through the webinar, I went through the pitch, and I was like, wow, this is terrible. And I remember even getting like the recording back, and there was no sound. Like my sound, like my input was just wrong, and nobody like could hear what I was. Nobody could hear like anything on the replay. And I remember sitting in my chair, so devastated. And I just sat there, I was about to cry. I had put so much effort into this. And then I get a notification on my phone. Someone had sent me $500 in my Stripe account. Somebody bought the product on the webinar. It was like, you just got $500 in your account. And I'm like, what? Somebody bought this? No.
For what?
Right, for what? Like, this was the first one I had ever done. And somebody bought it. And that was my transforming moment. I think I would have quit after that. And so many people do. Sean, like a lot of people, they start something new and they're like, this is hard. I don't get this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do this. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. And they started saying all these excuses about why they can't do certain things. And that moment for me was so huge that I put all this effort, and then I actually had, I had some success from that. And so I started reframing this, and I got out of the relationship, coaching thing. I was like, this isn't my why. This isn't what I love. I love the marketing behind what I do. And we'll get into some of the engagement reframing process of how we actually do that and how the results for our clients. But I just want to share that kind of backstory so that people knew that, whatever you're going through, that there are certain things that are going to get in your way. You're going to have hurdles, you're going to have roadblocks, but it's not about, like Rocky said, one of my favorite quotes, it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's like my favorite. Dude, I can watch that clip, man. Oh, God. I can watch that clip forever. I love anything Rocky. Yeah, so, oh, man. And he tells a great story. Like, it's not just a bunch of, like quotes and stuff. You know what I mean? He's not just talking in cliche. He's talking in a story. You could fit right here, and I was thinking this and doing this, and it's just like he's telling this story, but it's relatable to everybody. Love it. Love that. So let's get into that, man. What is the engagement reframing process? What does that look like?
Yeah. So where it starts and where this came up, where I designed this process, and it came around an idea that I saw all over social media. And I saw so many people that were pushing these products, right? You see tons of ads now, and it's only going to get worse as there's going to be less and less spots on social media to be able to advertise. But what I'm seeing is that people are saying, go to my landing page, like buy my products, get this, get that. And it's like you're pushing, and I've never heard of these people before. And that was so hard. And even when I was doing door-to-door, it was like, these people have never heard of me. There's got to be a better way. And so what I realized is that people needed to be able to have something that they could trust, whether that was a person, a product, they got some results, they got some sort of quick win out of this. And that's what I focus on, is quick wins. If you can get somebody a quick win where they can say, wow, like that was amazing. Like, I want to learn more about this. If you're in any sort of coaching or consulting program, you're trying to get results for people, that is going to be the best way to do that. It's some sort of quick win. A lot of people have, these, freebie giveaways, and they're just huge, super long, like just like ebooks or even physical books. And they're just like, like nobody's going to take the time to sit down and actually read that, like without getting distracted by something else. They need some sort of quick win that they can get to be able to say, wow, I did get some value from this guy. Like, this is really powerful. And so where I start with my clients, I'll just run you through the entire process.
Yeah, that's fine.
So how we start with this is we look initially at before they even get to the website, the funnel, the landing page, right? And it's all about how we pre-frame people. And that was a huge turning point for me, is like, if you're trying to push a product, you're trying to push something, people are coming through that in some sort of frame. They have an ideal, they have a paradigm about certain preconceived notions before they get to that product. And so they actually did a study on this, and this isn't this idea of pre-framing didn't come from me. It actually came from a guy. His name is Russell Brunson. Russell is also an entrepreneur, and he's got a software called ClickFunnels.
ClickFunnels.
Very popular online space. And he talks about this pre-framing process, and he's like, they did a study on this, and they took a group of kids, and they put them in a classroom, and they gave them two different teachers, two substitute teachers. And the first one, they were given a bio, and it said, said the exact same things about his credentials, but it changed one word or a few words. They said, for one, that he is very warm-hearted, he's loving, he's caring, he's very, very giving. And so that was to half the class. The other half of the class, everything was the same, except that it said he's cold, he's distant, he's hard-hearted, and he's a tough teacher. And it was very negative and put this guy in a really bad light. And so they went through, and he gave the exact same presentation. And what happened is that they got some results back, and I think it was about 90% of people who got the positive results came, and they said, he was amazing. He was so good. I felt like I really connected with him. He was an incredible teacher. Thank you so much. The other side, about 90% said, I didn't feel like I connected with him at all. Like, he was just not, like, I didn't get anything from this. He was not a good teacher. I almost fell asleep. Like, I just didn't really feel like this was worth my time. And it was like the exact same presentation. And I started thinking, I was like, when we're sending people to, like, you know, our websites, like, they have to come through a frame that's positive and uplifting. And so this is how we start the engagement reframing process. We reframe the way that people come into our world. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man.
So that, like, that's initially, like, where it starts, is like bringing people through. So there's a couple different ways to do that. The first way
I was just gonna ask that, like, how's that?
Yeah. So the first way that we do that is we start. Well, there's a couple ways that we can do that. My favorite way is to be able to do some type of survey or some type of quiz. And there's a lot of different softwares you guys can use to be able to do that. ClickFunnels actually has it already integrated inside of their software, so that's what I use. I know there's lead quizzes. I know there's a couple other different ones you guys can find. But having some sort of survey element right at the very top. And this survey element is only to be able to get people's frame correct before they see our offer. And we actually tested this. I was like, I don't know if this actually works. Like, I've seen quizzes before. I don't know if it's actually going to work. And we went through and we split tested. And we did one without a quiz, and we did one with a quiz. And the one we did without the quiz was getting between like 20 and 25% conversion rates on that landing page. The one we did with the quiz,
wow.
You want to take a guess?
75%.
It was pretty close. It was about 67%.
67, okay.
67% of people
that's incredible.
converted. Yeah, from 25%.
Was it because they felt like a part of the process? Is that what it was? Like, they felt like they were in the process, or because of the survey you knew how to target them?
I think it was because they felt like they were part of the process. That's my understanding. Is they felt like, you know, hey, if you can get someone to engage with you in that way, you start getting those fingers clicking, like it'll change everything you do. And so I'm a huge fan of quizzes now. Everything we do has some sort of quiz at the top. At that link, there's actually, for that case study, you got to take a quiz to be able to get access to it. And I'm a huge believer in that, because it pre-frames people in a way that you can be able to help them segment, like, what they're thinking and what issues and problems they're going through that you can eventually solve for them with your product. So that's initially how we start that engagement reframing process.
Got it. Wow. So what is it? Is it like a duplicatable system that like, this is step one, this step two, like, is it step one's like the survey, then this, then this, then this? Like, can you duplicate that with pretty much anything? Yeah, absolutely. Like, very cool.
You just literally plug in the product and you change out some of the copy, and like you can have like the system of like how people kind of go through this process. And it doesn't just end at the end of, you know, the website or the funnel or whatever it is. Like, this is a very, like, especially in this industry, in this game, like, people's attention spans are so, like, gosh, are just like a goldfish, right? Goldfish are better than we are. Like, goldfish, their attention span is like 8 seconds. We're like 7. It's insane. But, you know, it goes so far beyond, like, just the funnel or the website itself. It's in the follow-up, and that's where we actually see most of our conversions is through the follow-up process. We do that through email. We do that through messenger bots. I know Gary Vaynerchuk. You're familiar with Gary V and his work, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I don't know too many people who are not.
Right. He so back in the 90s, he was doing email newsletters before anybody was doing email at all, and he was getting like 90% open rates, and he was getting 42% click-through rates. because nobody had dominated that space. Like, what are we getting now? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm getting between, if I'm lucky, I get 20% of people to open my stuff and like 5% of people to actually click through to it. And it sucks. And I was like, what can we do, right? And so we started, playing with messenger bots. And the first campaign we ran, we got, I think it was like an 88% open rate and like a 42% click-through rate. It pretty much matched what Gary was getting back in the 90s. And so, it's like, how do we actually get in front of our customer again? And how do we reframe that in a way that actually gets people to engage with our content, clicking into our stuff, watching our videos, listening to our podcast, whatever it is? How do we actually do that? And the way that I found the best way to do that is to craft a very compelling and engaging story. And there's a couple different elements to creating a good story, but people love stories and they love being able to be a part of it. And that's why, coming back to Rich Dad Poor Dad, why they've been so successful is because they've taken people through this story. They've taken a very boring topic like personal finance and made it interesting and exciting. And, he's getting paid 10 cents an hour as a 9-year-old kid, to work. And he's like, the rich don't work for money. It's like, what? But it's all crafted through the story, right? And so,
right. Some of the stuff he says, I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about?
I don't get that.
I love the framing. Yeah, like, they don't work for money. I'm like, what the hell do they work for?
Right. Exactly.
What are you talking about? Yep.
It's awesome.
Very cool, man. Wow, very cool. So the one thing I hate about webinars, can I just say this?
Please,
okay.
Go ahead.
This is just giving feedback. Here's the one thing. I've been on a couple, and after a while, I noticed that they're pretty much all the same. So I just don't even do the webinar. Like, join the webinar. I'm like, yeah, no thanks, man. I'll just have a conversation with the dude. Like, screw the webinar, man. I got questions that I want answered, The webinar starts out like, I want to, and some webinars are like really engaging. So you don't really know, because I've typed things into the chat, and it's like never come up, or like somebody posted something really weird. I'm like, that's nothing to do with what we're talking about. But it'll be like, if you can hear me, type yes. Okay, can you hear me? Cool. Got people coming in. Awesome. And then they're going through this thing like type money if you love money, like all of those stuff. And then he goes through this like 30-minute presentation about how I was a lonely boy and I was living life at a low level until this one moment. The product that I'm selling you changed my life. Like it's this whole like 35-minute story. I learned nothing, and it's like, now buy the product. Like, I have so many questions. Like, what's my ROI? How long do I have to do it for? Like what are the next steps? What am I going to get if, like I have tons of questions, and it's like, you're going to do this webinar, and it's just like this backstory. Like we're talking right now, like literally our conversation would be a webinar, and then if you like it, then buy now. Put now in the chat if you're ready to transform your life, and I'm like, I don't even know what are you talking about? I'm waiting for like this hook, like this big thing. Nope, never comes. So I don't even do webinars anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well,
if you taught something, right? You said small wins, right? Like quick. So if you taught something that says, I want you to try this right now. Try this one. Like if I said, if I had a coaching program about like gratitude or whatever, right? I'd be like, okay, so what you want to do is count 3 blessings a day. Just count 3 blessings a day. You can do it this way, you can do it this way, you can do it this way. Get your friends and family involved. Have a gratitude session, during dinner. Sit down as a family and talk about your blessings and count 3 blessings a day. And then I go into, and this is just one strategy of the many that I teach as a gratitude coach. So if you're ready to cultivate an attitude of gratitude, lower your stress, lower your depression, lower your anxiety, come and join me in this 66-day gratitude challenge. So I've given like a count 3 blessings a day. So even if you don't buy anything, I've given you something tangible that you can take away and go, I'm going to try that and see how it works. And if it works, then I'll get contacted because it works. And go, okay, well that worked. What else does he have that works? To me, that would be a better webinar formula than just talking about you for 45 minutes and then buy something.
Right. And like how many people are doing that? Like hardly any, right? It's just a bunch of fluff that people are giving.
Yep.
So
I try to stay away from those webinars.
Mm-hmm. And that, because those guys, the creators of those webinars, they're completely doing it wrong. They're not providing any value. And then, of course, like, people don't want to be able to do that. But my understanding is that I contacted the person who bought it, because I was wondering, like, that $500 product we were selling, like, for relationship coaching, right? Like, what? Like, I have $500
from a single guy.
Right, and it's like, this is my stuff. I was appalled, but the thing was, I asked her. I said, "How come you bought this? Why did you buy this?" And she was very direct. She said, "The reason I bought it was because I went through the beta test version of this, and I knew that it was amazing, because I'd gotten a lot of value out of it. And I knew that whatever you had, Adam, was going to be incredible." And I was like, whoa. She paid $500 for that. But it wasn't because, from cold traffic, right? She had gotten value from what I was doing. And she had gotten quick wins from what I was doing. And that is what made that shift, to be able to ascend people up to higher and higher ticket things. If you get value here, then naturally people will want to be able to receive more, right? So that was a huge takeaway and huge transformational moment for me, because she got those quick wins. It's awesome.
Very, very, very cool. So let's talk about resources real quick as we start to wind down the show. Let's talk about some of the resources and one thing that you're saying just comes to mind. You were talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad, but have you ever heard of Ryan Levesque?
It doesn't sound familiar. No, tell me about him.
He has a business called the Ask Method. That's his business, the Ask Method. And he holds webinars and he has video trainings and everything like that. And he literally says, and it's almost like you run parallel with this guy. His whole thing is, I was broke as an entrepreneur trying to sell a bunch of stuff, and I didn't know how to do it. And I couldn't figure out the formula. And why would anybody buy from me? He's like, my first real product that I ever sold was like an orchid guide, like how to not kill your orchid. Because we had 2 or 3 different orchids and they had all died. And so I started reaching out, like, hey, does anybody have an orchid? Yeah, ours died. I'm like, oh, ours too. And I figured out that people had a problem with keeping it alive. So I talked to a gardener, I talked to some other people, and they gave me some tips. I then put that tip into a guide and I sold it. I said, I wonder how many other people have the same problem. So he reached out to like his whole network. I'm doing a survey. And this is funny that you said you do the surveys at the beginning. He says, I did a survey and hundreds of people. And then I Googled how to keep your orchid alive. And there was hardly anything. So I found a gardener. I talked to a botanist, whatever the person is that does all the gardening, flowering, whatever person. And he says, he gave me all the information I needed to keep this thing alive. I then did a webinar about my story and told them how to keep it alive. And if they want this guide, it's like a $47 ebook or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so he just asked people, and there was an issue. He's like, holy crap. So then he started looking around. He's like, what other things do I struggle with? Right? Like, what do I struggle with? And started reaching out. And he does this every time. It's called the Ask Method. And he takes a survey of everybody who might be stressing out about this one thing. He does a bunch of research and then comes up with a webinar and a product to solve that problem. That's all this guy does.
That's awesome.
I know, right? I know, right? I was like, genius. That guy is brilliant. He gets paid for solving problems. The guy's brilliant.
Well, I mean, that's it. Yeah, because he is bridging the gap for people. And you and I talked about this the other day, is like bridging the gap. That's all products are. figuring out what the issue is that people are having, and then bridging the gap to help them get the result that they're after. And that's what he did. Is he's like, you guys having the problem with this? Okay, like let's, this is going to solve that issue. Business is really that simple. People overcomplicate it much. That's all it is.
Yep. So I was speaking at a conference, and Jeff Hoffman, who is the founder of Priceline.com, was one of the speakers. So super cool, talking to this guy for about an hour. And I asked him, I always ask like people like that, I'm like, what is the one question you get all the time? Like what? Because I guarantee you somebody has it. I said, what is the one question that you get all the time, everywhere you go? He's like, what's the greatest nugget of knowledge I can give a business, or how do you build $1 million, whatever. He's like, let me give you a piece of advice, because this is what happens, right? He starts going through all the questions, and a lot of guys will do this. They'll go, you know what? Let me just give you this one thing, right? And so the one thing is drawn out. He says, find an industry that you're interested in, that you like, the car industry, coaching, business, relationship, just one industry.
Mm-hmm.
Then learn everything you can know about that industry. Learn everything. The processes, the strategies, who's in it, who's the influencers. Do research. Like a solid month, you're just laying into this industry, the cell phone industry, whatever. What is the industry, right? And then just dive in and learn every single thing you can about this industry. And then solve a problem in that industry that nobody has solved yet. Or build something better than what's already there. Really? He's like, it's that simple. It is literally that simple. Jeff Hoffman was the one who invented the kiosk at the airport. Instead of going to the counter, he invented the kiosks. And out of those kiosks, he's like, well, if I could just do my own travel, if I could just get my own ticket, I wonder if I could just book my own travel. And then Priceline.com was born. Out of one idea, another idea was born.
Yeah.
No kidding. So that's it, man. He says, win your gold medal in that one thing. Michael Phelps doesn't ski and snowboard and swim and do shot put. Like, he only does these certain races. And he had to be good at these certain races and get gold medals. So you have to win your gold medal at that one thing. Pick one industry, figure out everything you can about that industry, and then solve a problem inside of that industry that everybody is facing.
Well, I know, Sean, for you, like you were amazing at this craft of being able to just hone in and stay focused on what you're doing. And you have to, because 50, 60 hours in the Air Force and running all these other businesses, you don't have a choice. You have to stay so focused on your craft and what you're doing that if you even deviate a little bit, you're obviously not going to get to where you want to go. And so I have mad respect for what you're doing in that regard. There's two elements that I want to kind of piggyback off with this. You're talking about finding something that people are going to actually resonate with and people are going to buy. Now, there's two types of offers out there. One, we have improvement offers, and then we have offers that are new opportunities. We call them disruptive offers. So a couple examples. You think about different improvement offers out there. Everyone's kind of looking for the next way to be able to lose weight or like to get into better shape, right? People are like, improvement offers. Go to the gym, eat less calories and eat healthier, right? So all these different people are telling you that. Those are just improvement offers, right? There's a difference between an improvement offer and a disruptive offer. If you want to be successful in your industry, you have to have a disruptive offer. I'll give you a few examples. The first one that comes to mind is ketosis. Ketosis was a new revolutionary way that people were using to lose weight. And it really is simple. I mean, they drink this ketosis shake in the morning, and then, you limit your carbs to you just limit your carbs, drink your ketosis shake, and you lose weight. And this was a new opportunity. This was like a new thing that they're doing. You would say, you guys are doing all this, you guys are still trying to go to the gym and still trying to, like go on tons of runs and see yourself. Just drink this shake, right? Disruptive, Apple, amazing example. Everybody's got these flip phones, right? And they come out and turn out. You guys can't do the flip phone thing anymore. It's about the iPhone. It's about the iPod, right? And Steve Jobs was so brilliant with this. Instead of saying like, here, you guys are doing the Walkman thing. No, 1,000 songs in your pocket, right? Like that is a new opportunity that people are having. You think about ClickFunnels and what they've done. People are like saying, hey, people are doing websites. Russell Brunson comes out and says, you guys are doing websites. You guys are still, it's hurting your conversions. You guys need a sales funnel. Like that's this new opportunity, right, that he's presenting to help people get their results. So do this for me. Create a statement that goes like this. And for all the listeners out there, they can do this too. If you can get someone to believe, and this comes from Russell Brunson, this isn't my thing, but Russell Brunson teaches this, and he says, if you can get someone to believe that blank, whatever that new opportunity is, if it's ketosis, sales funnels, the engagement reframing process, whatever it is, if I can get someone to believe that, blank is the key to whatever result they're getting, losing weight, having an online business, being successful, having a better marriage, whatever that result is, and is only available through your company, your new opportunity, your business, then all other objections disappear and they have to give you money. It's that simple. Right? Like, if you can get someone to believe that new thing is the key to getting them to what they want and is only available through you, Sean, it doesn't matter how much you charge. People are going to pay it because they know that you are the only one who can get them that result. And the only way to do that is to be able to create a new disruptive offer in your market, something totally different from anybody else. And that's what I've created with the engagement reframing process. A lot of people are trying to push these cold products and it's not working anymore. People have to reframe the way that they engage with their clients, and that's what I teach this way.
Very cool. I like it. I like that a lot. Yep. So as we wrap up, we're going to do a shameless plug. You can plug your friends, quotes, websites, your Facebook, social media links, your products, movies, give a shout out, whatever you want. This is your time to plug shamelessly. Go.
So if you guys want to learn more about this engagement and framing process, what I do for my clients, then I've got a case study that maps this out, and it's a video that you guys can go through, and I think it's really going to help you guys. You guys can go to business.strategicsocialpartners.com/case study. You guys can be able to go and download the case study. And then if you guys want, you guys need help with this, more help, then you guys can apply to work with me and my team. Also, I love connecting with people. So find me on Facebook. It's Adam R. Smith 120. There's like a bajillion Adam Smiths out there. There's no way you're going to find me without typing that in there. So Adam R. Smith 120. And I just love to connect, and that would be awesome. So I also want to thank Sean for his time and allowing me to be on the podcast. And hopefully this is helpful for you guys as you guys are going out and kind of learning more about, what you want to do and kind of finding your voice and finding your vision and finding your passion and what is that thing for you. And so hopefully, that's why I do what I do, is I tell stories in a way that help people to be able to change and inspire and make an impact. So I appreciate it, Sean,
awesome.
for your time.
You rock, man. You rock.
Thanks.
So we have a couple minutes left. Where are you headed now? So what new adventures, businesses, family? Talk about that for 2 minutes or so. What do you got planned for the rest of 2018 and then into 2019?
Yeah. So I have a vision. I joined a program, and in this program we've been learning about, how do you actually create something that is going to be impactful for people. And that's what I did. And so I partnered with a company called Strategic Social Partners, and they do a lot of Facebook ads and social media management. Things that I'm not fantastic at, I'm probably a 7, but at a 9 or 10, more of a business strategist. And then, so what I do is my goal and my vision is to be able to take this company, the X2 entrepreneur, to 6 figures by the end of the year, and then I want to hit 7 figures by the end of 2019. And doing it in a way that's ethical and moral. I know a lot of people can create by kind of being a little bit shady with those tactics. I'm very upfront. I try to be transparent with everything that I'm doing, and in a certain way, be able to use that, use the money and the wealth that I create from that. And my biggest goal is to be able to go. Two of my brothers went and did missionary trips in Africa, and after learning about their stories and just some of the horrible things that are going on over there, be able to go and do some humanitarian work out there and be able to actually make an impact. The issue, though, is that you can't make an impact without the income to be able to do that.
Right.
You have to be able to help yourself before you can help other people, right? You get on an airplane, you have to put your own mask on before you help someone else put their mask on. And that's the entire point, is giving you guys permission to be able to help yourself before you can go out and help other people. So that's my long-term
Very cool
vision that
awesome.
I want to do.
Cool, man. So as we close the show, can you deliver your best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone to take action?
Yes. So that action has to come from within. There's nothing that I can say or anybody can say that can actually get you to do something. But what I want you guys to do, if you guys get nothing from this show, I'm going to give you a tactical thing and then more of an inspirational thing. The first tactical thing that I want you to do is be able to actually go and find and create a survey, create a quiz, use the ask method, look that up, and be able to use that in your business and get people to engage with you. I promise it's going to give you higher conversions if you do that on your landing pages. We did it on our webinar registration pages, and it was amazing to be able to go and actually make that happen. So go and find something. ClickFunnels does it already, but there's a ton of other ones if you aren't already on ClickFunnels. More of an inspiring one, though, is that you guys might be in a position where you're feeling down, your business is down, you're going through a lot of struggles, people problems, more people problems. You're having issues with, financially, maybe in your marriage. That I want you guys to know that one of the most beneficial things you guys can do is to have gratitude and to be grateful for what you do have. A couple years ago, we went to Tijuana, Mexico, to be able to go and build homes. And we are so blessed to be here in this country and to have the luxuries that we do in first world problems. It really is incredible. And if you guys take a step back, if you guys are so, feeling lonely or feeling down or whatever, you're thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about anyone else. The fastest way to be able to turn that mindset around is to be able to go and help somebody else and go and serve them. So I know that that's something that can really benefit you guys as well, and that's something I try to do every day, is to find someone. It's very important.
Very cool, man. Dude, you rock, man. Great conversation, great content, and the name of your podcast and where we can find it?
Yes, is the X2 Entrepreneur Podcast. We're kind of going through a rebranding stage, but you can find that on Anchor. It should be on iTunes soon. Right now it's on anchor.fm/the X2 Entrepreneur. So
you rock, man.
Check it out.
Thanks
Sean,
for spending time with us today.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
So, Life Transformation Radio listeners, another amazing guest, another impactful episode. If anything resonated with you, reach out to Adam Smith with Strategic Social Partners. He is doing incredible, incredible work. And I want you to click that link, check out his podcast, subscribe to it. It's going to freaking blow your mind. As we close, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart. I call that living your brand. So until next episode, have a great day.
skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just 49 bucks at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only 49 bucks. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Why is it that when someone asks you to just trust them, you just don't? Because trust is tricky. You can't just say it. You have to back it up. AAA Auto Insurance has been doing that for over 100 years. As quickly as a car accident happens, AAA starts to set things right, matching you with the right experts who make your claim their priority until you're back behind the wheel. Talk to a AAA insurance agent at your local AAA store today or visit AAA.com/insurance to learn more about AAA.